Sana, you set me up.
With what?
Cause like when we did our podcast together with Sana, we actually, what people don't know is we tried to record it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But because I think, I was like shy and nervous. I was like, like I don't think I was even talking. I don't remember. I was too nervous. So Sana was trying to be like nice and like, oh, let's try it again. Oh, and at some point we just started talking about something else and cracking jokes about Richard.
Okay,
and then this
good.
is when I kind of like, I was like, oh, this is fun. Okay, so I sort of like listened up and it was chill. And then we started recording again, but I was still laughing like at the jokes from like 3 minutes ago. Sana, you should know that once I start laughing, it takes me at least 20 minutes to stop. Like we should have waited for 20 minutes. But no, it was super fun though. It was fun.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Like I honestly didn't expect my laughter to affect people that much. So I think like maybe I should like send fruit baskets to people who were really offended, like as an apology, because I didn't mean to. But like instead of fruits, it would be like packets of salt. But like the plot twist would be like there would be like a note saying the salt was made with my tears.
Oh.
Goodness.
No, but in all seriousness, no, it was great. It was a great podcast. It was super fun.
It was,
like,
yeah.
And like a lot of really awesome people find my channel through that podcast. And they're like super nice and they're like super encouraging. So now that we got that out of the way, now that we cleared the air. Oh my god, you guys, I need to start like a salt basket business. Oh, I'm a genius. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, people have been asking me for merchandise.
Have they?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can't draw. I have no talents. I don't know how to do pottery.
You need to sell, like, duck t-shirts.
Oh no, you piece of shit.
I don't know if you guys watched. I uploaded a video about the unused cutscenes of Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2
Yeah,
and
I
Dark
saw
Souls
that,
3.
yeah.
Yeah, and there were actually Dark Souls 2. There's actually more than I think 15 unused cutscenes, other than the 2 that I've already shown.
Right.
So, but the problem with these is that they've been made with a previous build of the game, so if you try to load them in the game, it crashes. So basically for the entirety of like the last week and this week, I've spent more than like 50 to 60 hours just trying to make them work. And I've literally tried everything I can. I tried loading them, and when they load, they don't load the characters, so I made it load the characters, but it doesn't load the characters, and I basically tried everything. It's just not working anymore, so I wanted to take another approach to actually load them outside of Dark Souls 2, and that was another big mess, because Dark Souls 2's engine is different than other Souls games, so they just... Like, most of the stuff are the same, but why did they change the animation system? It's just not working with any program at all. Like, even if you search up the engine they're using for animation, it doesn't even come up on Google. So I'm not finding anything about it. So it's just been hectic, really. Like, I eat every day. I just work like for 10 hours straight, just trying to make it work, and it's just not budging. But there are some really, really interesting stuff like inside of these cutscenes in terms of the lore. I don't know if you guys played Dark Souls 2.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an expert.
Yeah, so there's the Scorpioness Najka, I think her name is, and the man Scorpion Tark. So there's like a special cutscene that was removed from the game. So for a start, actually, these two weren't in the Shaded Woods. They were actually in the Earthen Peak area. So that's a starting thing.
Yeah, that would make sense with them being scorpions. Yeah.
And there's a cutscene after you beat Scorpioness Najka where like Mad Scorpion Tark comes, and then he is the one who finishes her off. Like there's a long cutscene about it.
Oh, like Ornstein and Smo, kind of.
It's not just like it's not just like Smo, he just finishes her off. He just stares at her, and then he like touches her hair or something and stares at her, and then like you can say reluctantly in a way, then finishes her off. But then I don't know, it goes too weird. It's like a horror movie. I don't know, like if you watched Scream, he just keeps stabbing her and stabbing her.
Oh,
and stabbing
wow.
her. It looks so weird. Yeah. And then he finishes her off, and there's another alternate cutscene. I don't know if you've noticed. She is actually wearing a pendant that has, or a necklace that has a sort of skeleton pendant on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was any significance for it in the lore. It's not mentioned anywhere, but like in this alternate cutscene, after you finish like Najka, he goes up to her and he holds that pendant, and then he looks at her, and then he pulls away that pendant off of her, and then she like dissipates or. And just disappears. Yeah, it's a very interesting cutscene, but the problem is we can't see it in game. So this interpretation is entirely from the from the skeletons I'm seeing. But no, like I saw the skeletons and everything, but like that is what's happening. But the exact area where it was, and there's bound to be some special effects and audio and all of the stuff when the cutscene plays. So, like, I'm trying as much as I can to actually get them to load in game, because it's very interesting. It adds a little bit of depth to their story, especially since they were very close together. I think he said that they were inseparable or something.
Yeah.
And in the final game, you just get to summon him, and there's a bit of dialogue after that, so it's not very much. But having this cutscene really, you can say, strengthens the, let's say, the relationship between these two, which is very interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, because, like, one of the things about Dark Souls 2 cut content distinct from something like Bloodborne's cut content is that Dark Souls 2 was kind of like rebuilt from the ground up midway through development.
Yeah, Team B and all the drama.
Yeah, so like it's not surprising that you're having a lot of difficulty restoring this stuff. Because it's like probably from an like not just an early build, but effectively a different game that used the same engine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it seems this way because specifically, like, there's this batch of cutscenes. It seems like they belong to, let's say, a different era of the game development, because these specific cutscenes, only these ones, like there was the Giant Lord cutscene and the Aldia cutscene, like those two were working normally. I didn't have to edit anything out, but those specific cutscenes, like the Nachka ones, and I'm going to be talking about some of them like later on. These ones, even if you try to load them, the game just crashes for some reason. So these specific ones, as you said, like it's basically from another game. So it's kind of expected in a way to have them not load. But the thing is, like how I noticed them, because at the beginning I actually searched Scholar of the First Sin for the cutscenes. So they actually removed the Giant Lord and the Aldia cutscene. So I thought there were no unused cutscenes in Dark Souls 2. But when I went to the last Giant oh my god, I can't just differentiate between them. The Giant Lord cutscene was actually in Scholar of the First Sin. But all of the other cutscenes that are from the different build, they actually removed them from Scholar of the First Sin. So they no longer exist in the Scholar of the First Sin edition of the game. So they basically knew that they are unused content and they removed them. Or that they're basically not needed, they're just taking up space, basically.
Yeah.
What a bunch of assholes.
Well, Lance was...
Like...
Yeah, I'm sorry, you go.
No, go.
I was saying that, like, Lance McDonald, the other kind of more visible guy who's doing the data mining, was telling me that he's data mining Dark Souls 3 right now, and that's got Bloodborne assets in it. Because Dark Souls 3, it's built on top of Bloodborne, basically, like an early version of Bloodborne. So there's like stuff in Dark Souls 3 that is it's like cut Bloodborne content that isn't actually in Bloodborne, but is in Dark Souls 3. There's all of this stuff that was deleted and then moved around, and you just find all this stuff lying around in the files.
Yeah, it's basically from Demon Souls, like from the very first game, which is Demon Souls. It's basically the engine through Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 2 is an exclusion, like forget about it. I just don't mention it. And then like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, they're basically the exact same Demon Souls engine, they just change it up. So it's basically the exact same thing.
Yeah, like for example, the Gravelord Covenant in Dark Souls, that is just retooling the world tendency mechanic from Demon Souls. Like, it's the same code, they just changed, like, now it works by a covenant.
Yeah, exactly, and for every asset, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, Bloodborne has, like, it internally refers to inside as being humanity, just because they're just recycling the code and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's because it's just like small changes because, like for example, Dark Souls 3 moved on to 64-bit architecture, so they had to do some changes to the animation, stuff like that. So there are like very small changes, but like it's mostly the same thing. Like 90% of the like code, it's mostly the same.
Yeah.
Like even in Bloodborne, there are Dark Souls 1 assets. In Dark Souls 3, there are Dark Souls 1 assets. So they basically keep building upon it.
And like when you were talking about cut text, like you just found a huge chunk of just dialogue from the original Dark Souls is in Bloodborne. Just in a table somewhere. There's like the Undead Merchants dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Souls 1 merchants, yeah. You're awfully quiet, Sinclair. Where are you?
I'm listening to you guys. I'm learning a lot. Maybe it just means that all of the games are in one universe.
You did dig up Gascoigne saying Umbasa and other characters saying Umbasa. So
yeah, about that, I wanted to ask you guys something. You know, I think SanaDSK, I think you made a video about this where the doll says something like, "Welcome, deceased. This is a dream, a nightmare for the deceased." Yeah.
The early doll.
Yeah.
But to me, that kind of reminds me of the Nexus. Am I the only one?
Well, in general, in general, from the data mining I did for Bloodborne, especially with the, you can say, alpha content, like the dialogues and the stuff like that with the Umbasa, you get the when you read all of the texts and you start, you can say, linking stuff together, it is pretty clear that Bloodborne in its early stages was actually a Demon Souls, let's say, sequel in a way, or at least set in the same universe. Because not only Gascoigne says Umbasa, but there is the other NPC,
the man behind the window says Umbasa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's Father Norbert and all of these stuff. So so it's and even like in the alpha files. Like you have Father Gascoigne, they have souls. Yeah, like you have the soul of Father Gascoigne, you have the soul of the wet nurse and stuff. So it seems like early on it was a Demon Souls sequel, and maybe even later on.
In the Project Beast trailer, it uses the soul absorption animation. It's not blood echoes. It's like the white soul mist sort of goes into the character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in general, I think it was like in the start, it was definitely a Demon Souls.
Not necessarily like a direct sequel, but a successor kind of story.
Exactly, yeah. At least set in the same world.
Yeah.
So why do you think they sort of changed the idea of doing that?
Well, I think mostly even like when you play the game, I think you can feel it. Is you can say the whole Great Ones. I think at the start it was just simply like werewolves and stuff like that. But I think the Great One stuff came later on into the development, so that's why you kind of feel sometimes that it doesn't quite fit with the story that we have. So I feel like it was at the start, it was vampires, werewolves, hunters, all of this stuff, but later on they decided to add the twist of the Great Ones, and I think that was the turning point for the game's story, for like from the old story to the current story that we have.
Yeah, the way it's just called Project Beast to begin with. So like they were starting off with this idea of basically just beasts, and then they developed it from there. Yeah,
exactly, yeah. But it's very interesting, like especially that's what I love about unused content, is just seeing how the game was going through the development of it, just seeing the stages and everything. Like I remember when I was uploading about the Bloodborne unused content, I literally dreamed of an entire unused level in Bloodborne. It was an area I even recorded it on my phone. So I record like as soon as I woke up, I just opened the voice recorder on my phone and I recorded everything that happened in the dream, so I don't forget about it. But it was generally like a circular area that looked like the Forbidden Woods, and it had that golden samurai knight that I found in the files, the one on the horse. Yeah. So and then I found his armor set. I remember after that. I remember exactly what it was. It was actually a video on YouTube that From Software did, where they showcased the development of Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. So they showcase some of the old assets like alpha assets and stuff like that. And I remember finding the exact same Golden Knight armor set, but it was in front of a chest of the Dancer of the Frigid Valley in Dark Souls 3. Yeah, and then I wore it and I started moving inside of it, and it was really cool. Like I literally didn't want to wake up from that dream, but sadly I woke up. So, but yeah, it was really fun seeing it.
Another like interesting thing with reference to what Sinclair was saying before is like in what looks to be the first draft of the doll's dialogue, she doesn't call you Hunter. She just calls you Diseased. So it's like, at what point did they... When was the Hunter concept even added? Because like we don't really know.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true,
the idea
really,
of you being a hunter because she just calls you Diseased, and instead of being called Hunter's Dream, it's just called Dream Refuge.
Yeah, and there's also the stuff with Lawrence too.
Yeah, the hunters probably existed as part of the world, but you weren't a hunter. You would maybe use things hunters had left behind, but the whole concept of the hunter's mark and things probably wasn't in there.
Sana, so this is my homework for you. Find out when hunters were added into the game.
Well, I think you can say figure it out because there is a bunch of alpha items too. So like we have the alpha test, and we have the final game.
Yeah.
And there was I think the alpha was in a way the transition, and there are obviously some of the stuff like before that. So there are some changes, like for example, Vicar Amelia was called actually Saint Laura at the beginning. She wasn't called Vicar Amelia. So there are some stuff like that. Like also the Cleric Beast is the Father Norbert, and the existence of Father Norbert himself. But actually, when you think about it, they actually recorded the dialogue for the time when he says Umbasa and Father Norbert. So it's also debatable to actually talk about whether it was very early on or it was later, but not so much later. It's difficult to have a definite answer on that.
Because what's interesting about the Cleric Beast is, like, Lance only a few days ago showcased the unused cutscene that would happen when the Cleric Beast confronts you in the
Cathedral Ward, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, if the Cleric Beast is Norbert, then you would encounter him as the Cleric Beast already. So like, why is there a model of Father Norbert in the game? Unless it was used as a flashback or something.
Or that's not Father Norbert at all. that's the thing. It's because it's because the model doesn't have a name. Like especially this guy and the supposed Father Norbert, the undead horse, and the samurai. All three of those models don't have literally any references in the files. Like no AI files, no script files. It's literally nothing.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Actually. You know, there was one place I didn't check in. Wait, let me check actually real quick about it in the folder.
Oh my god, this is like some real-time development, you guys.
Live.
Yeah. Breaking news with SanaDSK.
Because I searched all of the folders, but the only folder I think it was the AI scripts, but it's in a different location, so just... If their code exists there,
This better be good, Sana, because you're building up my expectations.
And like this is live revelation, basically.
He'll find that Ludwig did kill Maria.
Oh, finally!
No, Maria killed Ludwig.
Oh no! That puts a hole in all of my YouTube theories, Richard.
Yeah, so they are in these ESD files, supposedly, but where's Bloodborne's files? Seems like they don't have files.
Look harder, Sana.
Yeah, it seems like they're not there. No, it's because I already searched a lot for it.
Look again.
Okay. It's like weird why these specific three, like they don't have anything on them. That's weird. Yeah, it seems like they're all linked up in the same, let's say, period of the game.
Well, what's another thing that's interesting is that the priest model that you found, he matches the uniform he's wearing matches that portrait in Bergenworth. Not in in Canehurst.
You mean Canehurst?
Yeah,
Canehurst,
but so it looks like that, and it looks like that was the Healing Church's early uniform. And if you look at the church servants, like the big pale guys with the lanterns, they're wearing that as well, but it's black. Like, it's the same kind of design. The buttons are in the same place and the pendant's in the same place. So they might have been going for like the way that in the Catholic Church, like the cardinals all wear red and then the people beneath them wear black, maybe.
Yeah, it is possible.
But then I don't know, they changed the uniform design.
Yeah, and like if you at least had but I don't know. I think like even if we had a code name for the priest, I think it would just be priest. Literally,
Yeah.
I don't think it would be very different.
I wanted to ask you guys something. Sana, you found the Shrine Knights, and you also mentioned that Shrine is what they call those poles that we can see from the Hunter's Dream.
Oh yeah, the Lance tweeted that out. Yeah, the other like arch trees, you can say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's related to it really. I think it links most to because like something I don't think if I talked about it in the video, but actually the Shrine Knight is wielding the same halberd as the Samurai Knight.
Huh.
Yeah, so and they both have golden armor, so I think there must be a link between them.
Do you think they might have been for the Chalice dungeons, maybe?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I actually found the Shrine Knight in the Chalice dungeons, but like you find all sorts of enemies in the Chalice dungeons, so...
Because I can't think of like where it would fit aesthetically in the Yharnam that we visit, but it would fit in the kind of Pthumerian sort of ancient
or
place.
A Demon Souls like themed night area, you can say, yeah.
So basically the Chalice dungeons are the equivalent of the Profane Capital?
Oh. We said we weren't talking about the Profane Capital again.
Asterisk to Aegon.
I'd like to amend my contract.
Do you guys have any, because I find those things really, really perplexing. Do you guys have any theories with everything that's been released and not released, what those arc trees or poles or whatever could be?
Well, there's that unused dialogue from Gurman where he says something like, look at all these frightful things, watch them burn. And he's talking about everything's burning down, which I thought was maybe him at Old Yharnam. But then it's next to all this dialogue where he's talking about like every dream will end and the hunters are free and things like that, which makes it seem like there were multiple hunters' dreams and they were all going to burn down when you did something to the moon presence or when you retrieved Murgo or something. So like it might have been that at some point there were going to be little hunters' dreams on top of all of those poles. And then I guess when they got rid of that, they just removed the top of them and shifted them upward because they don't really make sense. They may just be like a visual detail.
But it would have been cool if like you could see like other I guess Hunter's Dream on like poles, but it would be other players that are there and you could like wave to each other and be like, hey, come over to my team.
That may have been what they were going for because like it hints at the Dark Souls thing, which is like everyone's playing at the same time and they're in different worlds and you can go back and forth from each other's world. But there's not the equivalent of like Solaire saying like, yes, time is convoluted and like our worlds are in contact and we can reach out to each other or something. It's just taken as read that that's how multiplayer works. So maybe that was the explanation they went with to begin with.
What do you think, Sana?
Yeah, it's because like there's like Eileen talks about also the doll. Like when she kills you, she tells you to say hi to the doll for me. So
yeah.
And like the thing is, I think each hunter has his own dream because you can say you don't meet other NPCs in the dream, but does that mean that there is a Gurman and a doll in every other dream? Like that's
so
the
deep,
thing I'm
man.
thinking about. So it's like a Gurman, you can say a manifestation in a way, the one that we're seeing.
Okay, you guys.
Yeah.
The real Gurman is in the Chalice dungeons, and he's projecting himself into each dream like Queen Yharnam. Boom.
Okay.
Solved.
That's fine. That's done.
That's done. Moving on. No. I'm applying all the stuff I learned from JSF. I may not be necessarily applying it in the most appropriate way, but you know.
So yeah, I think like in general, like the entire concept of the Hunter's Dream, because also if you think about it, I think also the Hunter's Dream might have been a late concept.
Yeah, I think
too, because,
that's
yeah,
because Lance McDonald streamed for a very long time, like every area with gravity turned off, and he showed that like if you run from the Hunter's Dream and look at it basically from the air, it has a completely unused pathway that goes off into the distance that we never use. And so I'm thinking like the workshop in the waking world may have been made first, and then the Hunter's Dream was copied from that because it's got this odd unused pathway. The other thing that like has been tested is that if you leave shining coins around the real world abandoned workshop, and then you look at it from that plaza that leads to Yahagul, the physical location of the coins does not match where you actually see the workshop, and the workshop is in a different place, kind of. So it looks like they maybe moved the workshop around a fair bit in development, and originally it was much closer to Yahagul than to Cathedral Ward almost.
Well, also I think the abandoned workshop itself has its own map file, so you should take that into consideration. Like the entire Cathedral Wall, you can say like the entirety of Central Yharnam has its entire map, but the abandoned workshop has its own map file. So that's probably why it's not loading. Yeah, it's possible. And also another thing. Especially like the stuff that you see from far away, you can't always trust them, because if you go from the upper Cathedral Ward and you look at the where the well is, where you fight these the two Yahargul NPC enemies, you can actually see that the design is different. Yeah, it's completely different. Yeah.
Hemwick also, when you're in Hemwick, you can look over at Yharnam, and Yharnam's whole design is different as well.
Yeah, and I think that also is also like you can say a development thing, that when you develop, they might have changed some of the designs.
Well, I was talking to Lance, and he said that like he's pretty sure that little Yahagul Plaza was moved around and changed like pretty late in development. But he's still kind of looking into it.
Yeah, I think he's he got also no clip and no gravity working right now, so there should be.
He's just got no clip working, and I guess by the time this goes up, he probably will have streamed with no clip on. But yeah.
I heard that he controls characters with his mind.
He has a lot of skills.
I wanted to ask you guys about something. You kind of found something similar before, Sana, but Lance found like the whole Asir's baby.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the thing that like in the final game, the model of the baby is actually removed completely. So there are some stuff like, for example, Ariandel in Dark Souls 3. If you remember in the trailer, he had a whip, and you can get the whip from like as a weapon. But there was a cutscene like where he is whipping himself using it. So actually that whip does exist in the game, and it is there and it is loaded. But you can say there's like a code in the game that hides it. So even in the cutscene, the whip is actually above him, but you don't see it because it's hidden. But in Dark Souls, in the case of Osiros and Ocelot, they actually removed the entire model. They didn't even keep it in the game. But in the network test, like when Lance got the files of the network test, Osiros, like the baby model of Ocelot was still there in the test, so it wasn't removed by at that time. And even though you shouldn't even see Osiros at that time, so but I actually had my suspicion, like because if you remember in the time of the alpha of Bloodborne, like when it was actually one of my very first videos when I got out of the map, and at that time we have only seen Central Yharnam, but when I went to the sewers area and went to Father Gascoigne and all of that wasn't revealed at all. Like the beta was only in the first section of Central Yharnam, so yeah, the sewers was actually closed off.
Yeah, Lance is able to go to other places, but only because he can like use a debug menu to force the character to move through solid objects.
Yeah, but at the time of the alpha, there was actually a glitch where you can jump on a bench that lets you get out to that sewer area. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought there was I actually like the network test of Dark Souls 3. I didn't actually spend a lot of time trying the actual game while I was trying to get out of the map. Yeah. Literally. So because I was 100% sure that at least Vort would have been there and I would have fought him. And like right now, 2 years after that, Vort and Oseros were actually in the game.
Yeah.
It's pronounced Vorditidit.
Or is it Oseros or Osiris though?
I call him Osiris. I have my own pronunciations.
I call him Oseros because it sounds more like Ocelot.
No, but then you say Ocelot.
I actually saw the Japanese pronunciation. I think it was Osirisu. It was something like I used Google Translate to see.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Osirisu, yeah.
It's one of those things that could be like translated as like half a dozen different things. It could be like Osloth or like Osalap.
Yeah, exactly. But the localization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about the lore implications about the baby. Do you think they removed him from the game because, like GSF mentioned, they just don't want us beating up a baby, or they don't want like dead baby imagery in the game? Or do you think they removed it because there is no baby, lore-wise?
Well, actually, with the like confirmation of like Lance finding the model, there is actually an unused child model in every Souls game now. Yeah, in Demon Souls there was the beggar's child. In Dark Souls 1 there was Beatrice or and in Dark Souls 2 there was the unused Emerald Herald model, the child Emerald Herald. Which by the way, I don't know if you have read the unused dialogues, the translated Japanese one.
We talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, there was actually, I found other dialogues, she was supposed to be in an area, it was supposed to be in a village, and there is actually another NPC in the same area, and all of his dialogue is mostly related to the Child Emerald Herald, and I'm going to be covering it very soon, so it's very interesting.
I've got some data mine text from the network test of Dark Souls 2 I can give you, that's, like, it's an NPC in Majula. Yeah, it's from the very first network test. Someone like extracted it.
Yeah, I actually extracted it like 2 days or 3 days ago, and I just exported all the text, all the Japanese text, and just sent it to I just sent it to Loki to translate and to compare with the stuff. Yeah, because he's also like interested in translating and seeing the differences in the translation in Dark Souls 2. So I've already sent him the original Dark Souls 2 texts, like Japanese and English, and I sent him these to compare and see what differences and stuff. There are small differences, not very much, but from the time of the first network test, the entirety of the dialogue of the game is actually there.
The set of dialogue I've looked at, it doesn't have the Child Emerald Herald in it, and it's this like NPC who I think would have lived in that mansion in Majula. And he seems like a kind of nice version of Aldia, and he talks about how he wants you to go and save Drang Lake by collecting these materials to perform a ritual, and it hints at a completely different story, basically. This is before the directors were changed, so...
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah.
In the dialogues I've extracted.
It's called like Beldrick or Belderick or something.
Are you sure he's not Vendrick?
This is such exciting news, you guys. Everybody cares about Dark Souls 2.
Well, they might.
It's actually a good game. It's actually a good game. I really
like it. It's aged remarkably well. Yeah.
I like it. Come on now. I actually like when I played Dark Souls 2, because I played like Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 1, and then Dark Souls 2. So I was just like, oh, another Souls game, that's cool, like my Souls fix. But then I heard so much negative stuff about it that I'm like, it probably resembles like Hello Kitty Adventure Island more than Dark Souls, but I'll give it a try. And like, you know, I really love it. It's like, it's a Souls game and it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But I had no expectations about it, so I didn't go through the whole thing where apparently super graphics were promised and super story was promised and this and that. So I just went in with zero expectations and I loved it.
Yeah, like Dark Souls 2 was actually my first Souls game, and I beat it a lot of times. Like, I can't even, I forgot, I lost count, really, on how many times I beat it. I actually really love Dark Souls 2. It's one of my favorites.
My favorite part, oh my god, I think all Souls games should have it. You know how when you go through an area and if you kill like the same guy like 50 times, he'll disappear?
Yeah.
I love that. I literally have entire empty areas in the game where I don't have to worry about enemies. I just, like, sometimes I just turn it on to stroll through an area just for fun, you know,
Yeah.
just to relax.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have that in every game. And it's like, it gives you a feeling of fulfillment.
Well, I think it's needed in Dark Souls 2 more than the others, because it tended to have like a lot more enemies in places you couldn't avoid them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. I hope Shadows Die Twice have that.
We don't know anything about Shadows Die Twice at all.
It's gone silent. Yeah, it's gone really silent.
Maybe it was a prank. Maybe it was just like the Pale Blood Hunt audiobook by Richard. Sana, were you about to say something?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, Sana, I have a very important question for you.
Yep, what is it?
Did you find any content that points to Ludwig killing Maria?
No.
Well,
no.
Lance found like content pointing toward who killed her.
I know.
Yeah, it was Simon.
Yeah,
it
but
was
that's
Simon.
the first
Yeah.
step. I mean,
Yeah.
Sana is like super
Yeah.
good at it because maybe Sana will dig deeper and he'll be like, oh, but actually this was just a diversion. This is the real thing that happened.
It was a decoy Maria.
Or like Simon was actually Ludwig wearing a Simon mask, you know?
Yeah, but I think like the entire quest line of like Maria and Simon, all of that, they also like changed it a lot since it was before.
How so?
Well, for a start, like Maria was supposed to be an NPC.
Go on.
Like she was supposed to be like you were supposed to talk to her, not just like have the cutscene. And also, yeah, this actually, like I've discussed this with Lance for like a long time, is that the DLC, and I think it was mentioned in an interview or something. I don't know where the exact source of it was, but that the Old Hunters DLC was actually 2 DLCs, like 2 separate DLCs. Yeah, so I think the you can say the like cutting point between the 2 DLCs was actually Lady Maria. Like you were supposed to talk to her, like you talk to Lady Maria. Like her dialogue says that there's nothing that like after this, and she gives you like relics. She tells you to take the relics from this room and like go back. So I think this is where we would have stopped from the DLC, and when the second DLC was released and then we'll go to continue to the Fishing Hamlet. But in a way, it's like, I think there was something more than the Fishing Hamlet if they did that, because I don't think they would release a DLC for only the Fishing Hamlet, because it's like basically one level.
Sana, they did release the Ashes of Ariandel DLC.
Okay, I think though, if they had gone with the Fishing Hamlet as a DLC, it maybe would have been the Fishing Hamlet and the prison area, because the prison area is where Brador is, and Brador's the one who invades you in the Hamlet. So it's possible those two would have been tied together, and then the research hall would have been a separate thing. Because I've also spoken to Lance about this, and he said that from what he can gather, the Hunter's Nightmare concept was added way late. And originally, like the research hall DLC would maybe have just been straight up in the waking world in the clock tower.
Yeah.
As opposed to being in the nightmare.
That could work, yeah.
Because, like, the research hall itself, it's the least nightmarish area. Like, everywhere in it
Yeah,
is,
exactly. Yeah, you're right. Like, outside and everything.
Yeah, nothing really odd is happening, yeah. And, like, that also kind of explains why this Lawrence fight is a retextured cleric beast. Because, presumably, if they didn't decide to do the Hunter's Nightmare until quite late on, they probably didn't have time to do a whole new boss, so Lawrence became a retextured cleric beast.
It's basically a callback to the original cleric beast boss fight, basically. Yeah, it's because it was, and if you don't also notice, like in the Project Beast, before that, Ebrightus was instead of the Cleric Beast too.
Yeah, she's in the cathedral.
Yeah, but like I think it was mostly a callback, like Lawrence's boss fight, the Cleric Beast in that room. I think it was mostly like a callback to the original Cleric Beast.
Yeah,
because I think they wanted to do it, and then they said like let's do it for the DLC. But something that really bugs me is that like for example the Great One Beast, the unused enemy, the unused boss. Like, they could have easily just used that boss in the DLC with a different name and everything, and nobody would have even noticed that it existed before the DLC was even released.
Yeah.
So why keep it?
Well, it may have been a test enemy, because from, like, it looks a lot like a dragon. Particularly, like, the head looks like the dragons from Demon Souls, and it's got, like, I notice weird things, like its feet are not the feet of the other beast enemies. It has like 3 toes instead of 4, and they end with like a talon, like a lizard. And I've seen people kind of glitch the beast out where its fur will disappear. So I wonder if if it was just like a test boss and they just sort of glued some fur onto a dragon model they had in order to test like fighting a large quadruped covered in fur.
But so I don't think they would have had a full AI and dungeons based around him that way. Yeah.
Because, like, when I fought him, because depending on the version of Bloodborne you have, it does different things to the cut bosses. So, like, when I fought it, it didn't have AI at all. It just stood there. So I'm like, what is this thing?
Just stands there, yeah. And there's also... oh my god, I forgot what are the... there's also like stuff like this in the files of Dark Souls 1, where you have there was the prototype Calamite and the prototype Sanctuary Guardian and Chester and all of these. They were basically all in the files before, in the original game files.
Yeah,
and they basically reused them and they basically reused them and like changed some stuff on them. Like Chester, basically they just changed the textures of him. The model is exactly the same and everything. And nobody noticed that they were like, it was after like a lot of time when data mining basically became a thing for Dark Souls games that we knew that these things were actually in the files before we at the release of the game.
Yeah, and you did a video that showed off like exactly what was in the files and what was added for the DLC. So like Artorias isn't in the original game. But
Chester,
it
was a myth-busting video, sort of. I didn't think it would get like much recognition, but surprisingly a lot of people watched it. Like, I thought like not a lot of people would be interested in sort of the technical details, because I did go like into some of the technical details with the emulator and all this stuff, and actually people loved it. So, and I really enjoyed making it myself. So.
Yeah, it was good. You make good content, Sana.
Thank you.
Unlike Richard.
Who hasn't made anything for a year.
Yeah. Oh, Sana.
Mm-hmm.
Did you bring the diss track?
That we forgot about.
Oh, darn it.
I'm sure she'll make up for it.
Yeah. Richard, I told you, I think, like when we were talking and like and I told Sana something like, yeah, it's like Richard is such a freaking amateur when it comes to lore, or something along those lines. And then Sana was like, there's silence. And he's like, well, anyway, moving to the next topic. Like, I think he thought I was being very serious. Like, he was like, oh, crap. Those two really don't get along, huh?
Well, I got a message earlier today saying that someone really appreciated our dynamic. Of you constantly putting me down and me just like,
Because actually what I tell you, even though it seems like I'm putting you down, this is the nicest things you've heard in years.
Oh no, it's true. Yeah.
Oh my god. Poor Richard. Yeah.
Do you want to go back to like on topic now? Because I'm just concerned about, because we're almost on an hour and he's only. Yeah, we've only got him for a limited time.
When do you gotta go, bro?
I don't know. I think like I have half an hour.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we talking about now? Let's use this time super productively.
Okay.
Go. Do it. Talk faster.
I'm just
we
like,
only have half an hour, Richard.
Yeah. I think Like, having talked about Dark Souls 2's, the way that they completely changed that earlier on in this conversation, it's interesting the way that, like, Bloodborne also really, really changed, but instead of it changing by them saying, like, okay, we'll rule a line under this and just write a new story, incrementally little bits and pieces of it got changed, like, over a long period of time until it sort of became unrecognizable as its original self. So you find bits and pieces of, like, kind of narrative dead ends and weird pieces of design, and you realize that, oh, this had a purpose at one point, and then they changed it.
The problem mostly with unused content, especially when working with you can say the raw files, is that you have stuff sort of out of context in a way.
Yeah.
That is a big problem. Especially with the unused enemies, unused text, unused events, and stuff like that. It can be a really huge problem to actually know what the context of this or where it was and stuff like that. So, sometimes you need to. Because sometimes they just keep little stuff and they remove the stuff that actually matter, you could say.
The way that Lance explained it to me is that the way that the game, like, the reason there's some unused stuff and some stuff is completely gone is that the game basically ran through a process where it counted how many times an object was loaded into the RAM, and if it was 0, it just got rid of the object. So the reason that certain things survive is because of, like, not necessarily oversight, but just, like, for whatever reason, like, the old woman who was the original Yosefka character is in the RAM for the clinic. So she survives, but it's possible that other things were just gone completely. And that's why, like, there's no unused maps, and, like, Yosefka's clinic's top floor is completely gone by the time of the release, because, like, it's just wiped and it's not retrievable. But certain little other things, because at one point they end up in the RAM for some reason, survive.
Yeah, and that's also, like, a thing in, like, Demon Souls, like, in terms of unused content, it was, in a way, for programmers, it was the best, because they left all of the test maps inside of the game, and one of the most funny things they did is that they, like, all of the scripts, like the enemy scripts and the event files and everything, they left them all uncompiled. So, like, and if you ever, let's say you open the AI files for Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2, they're basically compiled. You can't just read them. They're, you could say, in a way, encrypted, in a way, so you can't read them. But the Demon Souls files were actually, they're pretty looking, really. Like, if you open them on, like, in Notepad, it's all colored, it's all scripted and everything. And you can easily just find everything in Demon Souls that way, because everything is just laid there in text form, and it's colored and everything, so it's very good. It's a programmer's heaven, you can say.
Always comment your code.
That's the good thing. Is that there are commented codes, there are codes, lines, scripts, and it's basically everything there. So the entire code of the game.
Like, Lance was telling me that in the version of Bloodborne that he's looking into, that there's, again, like, it's compiled, but there's, like, little notes the developers left each other because it was being passed from team to team. So you will find, like, in the research hall, there'll just be a note for, like, from, you know, one, like, the map designer to, like, an artist or something, like, saying this is what this thing is when you get to work on it. And those have been helpful to figure out, like, various kind of story things that we didn't quite get. So, like, for example, the way that we know that definitively that Simon kills Maria is that, like, there's literally just a note in the game referring to the dead Maria as, like,
it's in the description of like, the corpse of the Maria.
It straight up says, like, Clock Tower Hunter killed by Seeker of Secrets. Like, that's how we know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, like, the one of the blobhead patients who drops the brain fluid she's positioned next to a church doctor, and she drops the brain fluid that she drops. It gives you a little story about a brother and a sister who were working together to try to have an encounter with the Eldritch Truth. And we were like, well, is that the brother and sister, or is it just, like, weird placement? But there's straight up a note in the files that calls them brother and sister. So there we go.
Yeah. And there's also, like, when you say that, like, talk about that, the entire, like, Vicar Amelia is in the Hunter's Nightmare thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can say, like, believe that theory. I don't know. From my side,
I don't think
I've never actually believed it,
No.
because I don't know, in many ways it doesn't make sense. So the last string for me, like, to make me actually start to believe it was in the code. If that church doctor is actually, like, named Amelia or Vicar or something,
Yeah.
but no, she's just named White Hunter,
Yeah.
White Hunter, or Church Hunter or something. So that, like, for me personally, because, like, I see all of, you can say, I base a lot of stuff about programming, especially when seeing lots of unused content. It's, for me, like, it's impossible.
Yeah, and it's like I'm the same with, like, other sort of information that's kind of outside of what really happens in the game. Things like notes in art books and things that sort of help you get a more complete picture of the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good thing about it.
Yeah.
And like, even the entire concept of the hunter's nightmare. Like, I see people talking that Vicar Amelia, after you killed her, she went to the hunter's nightmare in her human form again. But, like, if you think about it, okay, then why isn't Lawrence a human? Why isn't Ludwig a human?
Yeah. And also, like, the basis of that is saying, well, she's saying Amelia's adage, but she's not. She's saying a slightly altered version of the adage with some of the bits cut out, and she's saying it in it's like slowed down. It makes her voice sound deeper. So I think the idea is, like, they're very explicitly saying, no, this isn't Amelia, because she has a different voice and she's saying a slightly different version of the prayer.
But there's also a problem in this. It's because it's kind of making you, like, there are other stuff you could say. There's where Gilbert is originally.
Yeah.
There is there's
Hunter.
in the Hunter's Nightmare, there's the Beast Hunter there. So that also made people think, like, okay, that then after you killed Gilbert, he also went to the dream and he's now a beast or something. But I don't know if, like, from my interpretation, in a way, I think, like, the real war does affect the Hunter's Nightmare in a way, as in, you can say, a parallel universe.
Yeah.
Like, there are, like, in a way, there are some stuff that are being affected by that.
Yeah.
I know that's my interpretation of it, in a way.
Yeah. And, like, it's odd because, like, if you can get to that Beast Hunter before Gilbert it turns into a beast anyway.
Yeah, and also the thing is, like, I was talking with Loki about this. Is that taking, you can say, everything in the game as a lore reason?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. that sometimes leads to really stupid stuff. Really, like, okay, like, this is a game. Like, there is some stuff that this is just a gameplay choice. Really, it's just like it doesn't have to have a story explanation.
Yeah, like, one of the things, like, there are people who are sort of trying to analyze the story. But, like, there's sort of different ways you can do that, and some of it is, like, filling in a weird gap or making a connection, and other parts of it are, like, trying to interpret, like, stuff the developers have, like, put there that you have to sort of, like, maybe make a distinction and say, like, this thing here is deliberately there for a reason, and this thing here is, like, a reference, and this thing here is a coincidence. Like, an example is Lance dug up this unused coffin in Hamwick, and it's got this flower laid on the top of it that looks like a rose, and it's the same flowers that's on the doll's bonnet, and you don't see those flowers used anywhere else in the game. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, I'm just going to say, okay, they did that deliberately. You're supposed to make that connection because no one else uses those flowers. But, like, something like the Beast Hunter, I'm going to say, well, that's probably just a reference because I don't think there's any, like, it's linked to Gilbert in, like, a thematic way, but I don't think it's actually Gilbert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you need to, like, and it's not like an objective correct way of doing it, but you sort of do need to start differentiating between, like, this is the designer trying to tell me something, and this is something they thought would be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the problem, you can say that it's become, you can say, like a standard for Dark Souls, that everything has meaning. Every item placed here has meaning.
Yeah.
And that became a big problem.
Yeah, I hope they get their act together for Shadows Die Twice, because I hope by now they realize we are crazy.
But the thing is, like, for all we know, Shadows Die Twice is not going to have that kind of, like, storytelling in it. It may not even be an RPG. It may not have an inventory. It may just be like a stealth game. So, yeah, everything we don't know, because it could be... Because not every game From has made is like Dark Souls. Like, they've made stuff like Kuon and Ninja Blade and Armored Core and like things like that, where you can say that like they have a house style, which is to focus on like little tiny details a lot and make sort of obsessive, complicated things. But not every game they've made has a story that's told in the way that Dark Souls is told. So it's possible Shadows Die Twice may not have that, and like, you know, the interest in sort of taking the story apart might not be there.
Yeah. Well, I told Richard, but I didn't tell you, Sana. I secretly hope that Shadows Die Twice sucks so that I can have a life again. Because if it doesn't suck, Richard, this is your life. This is my life.
That's fine. That's fine.
We're just gonna be podcasting 24/7.
I've got nothing better to do.
I've actually just like recently got into Fortnite.
Yeah.
I keep hearing about it. What's up with that?
It's actually really fun. It's a really good game.
Does it have lore?
Not really.
Nervous chuckle. Are we all getting God of War, you guys?
Yeah, I'm probably doing a playthrough on my channel.
Okay.
Oh, snap! Everybody go sub to SanaDSK's channel.
Now I remembered. Now I remembered something. Yeah. I forgot. In God of War, actually, like in God of War 1 and 2, there was these, like if you beat the game on hard difficulty, it unlocks these extra stuff for you, like extra videos. And in God of War 1 and 2, there were videos actually called Lost Levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these videos actually showcase some of the levels they had in the development, and the developers just talking about what their ideas was, what they were trying to test, and what was the significance of those levels and stuff. Like those levels, probably don't they don't exist in the files anymore. But it's a good thing that you can see them in action. Basically, like you see this area, and you see like the character moving in it, the scripts and everything, and you also have the developers' insight on those stuff. So it was like I just watched them like 2 days ago, and I wish that they could do something like this also for Dark Souls. Like there was also, I remember in God of War 1 where there was a level that you actually play in. It's not a video, but it's like a museum sort of.
Yeah, I remember
level
that. Yeah.
It shows you all of the unused prototype enemies that they removed from the game.
Yeah, they're like statues, and you can talk to them, and they'll tell you this is what this enemy was. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, which is very cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's also very cool from developers to actually show the prototype stuff and have insight about them. Because like in Bloodborne and all Souls games, basically, like we have all of the unused content, but we literally don't know, like, it's probably like all of our speculation about them is 100% wrong. That's the problem. Like we don't have any developer insight about them.
Well, one place you can get developer insight is the Dark Souls 2 design works, because there's a very, very long, very candid interview in there with Yui Tanimura, where there was the Dark Souls 1 talking about Andre and the entire statue and these stuff, which was a very cool thing. Yeah, but the Tanimura one in 2 is very, very good. He's just very open about like, this is what this character was going to be, and then we changed it. Or like this is what the Pit in Majula was, but then we changed it to this, and he's like just really open about it.
Is that a video or is that like transcribed?
No, it's a book. It's like a hardback book about like with like the art and everything of Dark Souls 2, and there's just a very, very long Tanimura interview in it.
You know, I might actually go give it a read again, like in terms of the cutscenes I've been fighting and stuff. Maybe I'm gonna find some stuff about it.
Well, he goes into a lot of details about like what the original Lucatiel character was, and like there was going to be a different beginning where you had to go down, like Majula was on the coast, so you would like go down into the sea at one point, and he talks about a lot of stuff. And then like for Dark Souls 3, there's no interview at all. It's just like, here's some artwork.
There wasn't an interview. Yeah, actually Lucatiel had a different name actually. Originally.
Yeah, Lucatiel, the way he explains it is like there was going to be a Don Quixote Sancho Panza thing where there would be a knight with Lucatiel's mask on Because that's why Lucatiel's mask kind of looks like Don Quixote's face. And then that knight would have a squire who was the character that was recycled into the little guy who inducts you into the Bell Covenant, the little like dwarf.
Interesting.
He was going to be the squire, and they would be a paired NPC team and things like that.
Well, I've got to give the Design Works a read.
Yeah,
now.
it's all online from memory. Like I think the interview was only ever in Japanese, so someone translated the whole thing. I think if you just Google it, you can find it.
Okay.
So I remember reading it a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually reading it from the scripts now, it was not Lucatiel, it was Akur. Like Google translated it as Archerla, but wait, let me hear the Akirotira. Yeah, okay. That's the name. Akirotira.
Cool.
Oh wait, maybe it's the name for her brother.
He's Aslatiel, isn't he?
Akiratir.
I think her brother is Aslatiel. I can't remember.
Wait! I actually have the dialogues opened up. Yeah. Let me. They don't mention
live development again. How exciting!
Oh no, I actually don't have.
Oh no, SanaDSK lets us down again.
Wait a second. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna open it right now. Okay, don't worry. Yeah, here's the English one. Let me just see the code for Alsatil. Alsatil. Where are ya? Okay, here's Lucatiel. His name appears when he invades you, right?
Yeah, he invades you in Aldia's Cape.
Yeah, so probably his name should probably be here. Here he is. He's 8240. Okay.
That's his name. Okay, makes sense.
Let me just open the Japanese files because I have to put them. Yeah, the thing is, like, there is actually no Japanese text in Dark Souls 2's files. I had to take them from the console version.
Right.
Yeah, so here's the text, Japanese, and NPC menu. It was 8240. Okay. Hopefully they didn't change the IDs in the color of the sin. Yeah, okay, here he is. So his name... No, it's actually Azuratir. Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way it's written is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is Akuratira and that one is Azuratira.
Yeah, I knew that.
So.
Gosh.
And you should have said so before. Yeah, actually, even in the unused network test, there was actually a lot of unused NPC names, or most likely prototype unused NPC names. I'm gonna actually compare them with the existing ones to check, to see what they are actually. But there are some weird names there,
I like there is an area in the network test called the Dreg Heap that's referred to. But it's not the Dreg Heap from Dark Souls 3.
Or is it?
No, it's not. It's underground. it's basically called the Dreg Heap of Souls. And the way it's explained is it's like this like underground sort of like cavern where all these souls sort of went to drift, and then it was broken open by the mining dwarf guys, the Gurm, and when they broke it open, like, it all rushed out and killed them all. It was like this explosion of like soul gas. Yeah.
This description, where is it written that way?
No, it's written in Japanese, which I don't have on me now. But it's the same written in Japanese, the same way the Dreg Heap is written in Japanese.
It's weird. I didn't actually find these in the I made sure to check out every corner of the network.
It might be I can send it to you because I have it on my desktop. I'll just paste it into the chat.
Aw, you guys are so nice.
Yeah, it'll be great.
You guys should totally collab or something. Oh, I wanted to ask you something, Sana, because I've been getting conflicting information about it, and I really don't know. For Bloodborne, for example, you have item text descriptions, right? Were those first written in English or Japanese?
No, they're probably written in Japanese first because like From Software is a Japanese game for a start, and they were translated later on. Too.
Yeah, and like when you and Sin talked about Archibald, like there's no English equivalent of Archibald's dialogue. It's only in Japanese because it presumably didn't make it past that phase.
So you would say that the dialogue is as well written in Japanese first?
Yeah, I think that's basically the case.
Yeah.
Like in every Souls game.
The thing is that I think where this confusion comes from is that up until Bloodborne, and this wasn't until a later patch, the games always had English audio. Like, it was a stylistic choice, where, like, Demon Souls, even though Demon Souls was never intended when it was made to be released outside of Japan, it was still fully voiced in English.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because he was trying to create the impression, like, this is a European-influenced world, so the characters speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that, I think, gave people the impression that literally everything is written in English to begin with, when it's, like, the dialogue is in English to begin with, but that doesn't mean, like, it was literally written in English. Like, just because there's no Japanese dialogue doesn't mean the dialogue, like, was written down in... Like, there's Japanese subtitles for that dialogue that often don't match it. Things like that.
So basically, it may have been written in Japanese first and then translated into English, even though...
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, actually, we noticed this in the TGS build that Lance was hacking when you fight Gascoigne, because when Gascoigne is talking, it's subtitled in English, but it's not, like, subtitles, it's just the script the voice actor had, and it's got directions in it. Like, it'll have in brackets, like, roar, or, like, in brackets, like, hiss or something. And it's full of, like, grammatical errors and stuff, because I think that's just that's the thing he was reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the actual, like, these weren't supposed to be the official subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, this is really interesting, because I've heard people say both, so I thought I'd ask you guys. Cool, thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually giving the dialogues you sent me a read. I've never seen these before.
Yeah, it was on a paste bin.
Yeah, I found the paste bin, but, like, who wrote it up? That's the thing. I mean, the original dialogue itself.
Yeah, that is just from... It was data mined from the network test. I found it through Reddit. It was data mined from the Japanese network test. And it's also got... The other thing they found in that is... Do you know about the Pendulum? Has that shown up in any of the stuff you've looked at?
Yeah, I've... Oh, wait. I think I found it. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh my god, finally! A cool discovery live!
There's, like, a different folder, like, just thrown out there called talk, like, outside of the Japanese and the... I'm not sure if that's the one. You know what, but it's weird, yeah. There's a separate folder with Japanese stuff that's not there.
A mystery folder.
So I'm just gonna do, like, a search for the dialogue itself that you sent me.
Yeah, my understanding is this was data mined from the Japanese network test. That's why it's not in English. And, like, I found it because I was looking for an image of this thing called the Pendulum that was going to be, like, the big sort of MacGuffin of Dark Souls 2.
I think I've heard of that, like, way back.
Yeah, you were going to go off on instead of finding the 4 great souls, you were trying to find 4 pieces of, like, important materials that you would build this pendulum out of for this scholar who lived in presumably Majula. And when you used the pendulum, you would, like, it's a pendulum, so it had control over time, and you'd use it and you'd apparently go back in time. And that was, like, the giant memories thing. Instead of them being memories, it's just straight up you go back in time to before Drang Lake was destroyed.
That's actually very interesting, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, GSF is very interesting sometimes. That's why I keep him around.
Sometimes.
What?
Yeah, you can see it here where he talks about, like, the Dragon's Ball Jewel and the time droplets and things. And then he says, like, after all, the time pendulum doesn't move, meaning, like, I need this stuff to power the time pendulum.
Yeah, I just found them. Yeah, I found I found those.
And it's like there's this guy who it looks like his name is Beldrick or Belderick or something, and he like I described him as like a nice version of Aldia, where he's like this sort of scholar mystic, and he's sending you on these missions to help him kind of go back and save Drangleic.
Oh, well, actually, that's... Okay, time to send these dialogues to Loki to translate them.
Yeah. Like, I suspect that's why there's that mansion in Majula that's got, like, a shattered lord vessel and this huge book in it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't go anywhere.
Huge thanks for telling me about these,
that's
really.
No problem.
And without me, this wouldn't have happened, so really, you should be thanking me.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm going over it now, and there's, like, because it's gone through Google Translate, so it's translating Seoul as Seoul, as in the capital of South Korea.
Yeah. No, Loki is actually very good at translating. He's translated literally like the entire Dark Souls transcript, and his translation is amazing. I've been using like his translations for all of the Bloodborne alpha stuff, and he gets so happy when he finds like new stuff and unused content to translate. Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna send them. I'm gonna put them.
But yeah, I all I know about this is like I found it on Pastebin through searching Reddit for like old stuff, and I don't know exactly where the reference to the Dreg Heap is, but like I was running it by a mutual friend of Sinclair and I called Mai, who's Japanese. And I occasionally run stuff by her and be like, hey, do you know what this is? And she was saying, oh yeah, that's the same word they use for the Dreg Heap. But I think it's way later on when they talk about like, yeah.
Yay! Live discovery! This is so exciting! Okay, let's do another one.
Yeah. And like there's only 4 NPCs in that, like in those files. There's like Vendrick and Nashandra.
Yeah, this one
and
I don't think this one mentions this one mentions Vendrick. It calls him it uses Vanclad, which is his name in the Japanese one.
Yeah, that's his name in Japanese.
Yeah, they call him Vanclad.
There are 2 areas. There is Majula, and the other area is actually it's Ten. What is this area? Won't venture deep into the mansion. Who says I wouldn't venture deep into the mansion? I can't be certain, but I've heard disturbing noises.
Yeah, they say that in the finished one as well.
My map. Oh yeah, I think that's the first of the Fallen Giants.
Yeah, that's
I think
Kale the cartographer talking.
I believe Hag says. Yeah, there are 2 areas. There's the First of the Fallen Giants, and there is the Majula. Yeah, both of these areas exist.
Yeah, and it looks
there's
like
dialogues.
Yeah, in this one they mention like the fortress that's in the Forest of Fallen Giants, and they call it like, I think it's called like the Shield of the Sea or something. Like it has a specific name. It's called like the Shield of the Sea Fortress or something.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, also like once Loki finishes translating them, I'll send you the proper translation
really
of them
good.
to read them. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
Okay, don't worry. I'll send them to you, Sinclair, too. Don't worry.
I don't give a shit about Dark Souls 2, bro. You can. I'm joking. I joke. It would be wonderful. Thank you. You guys. So okay, one thing I noticed when I play Dark Souls 2, whenever I teleport back home, and the screen appears and the music starts playing, there's a voice in my head that says, Mahula. But is it pronounced Majula?
Don't they call it Majula,
yeah.
like specifically on screen?
This. He says this is Majula.
Yeah.
In my head, the J is pronounced as more of an H.
So it's like a Spanish.
Yeah.
Actually, before, like from the test voices, it's in the old like dialogue. It's called Madula with the D without instead of the J.
Oh, that's interesting because like the mad prefix is like a magic thing in Japanese.
Yes, these are the testing voices. Like, I
don't know if that's
it's annoying. Though. Like this guy, like it's very close to the mic. Like, hello, my name is Pate. Welcome to Majula. That's exactly how the voice actor sounds like. So it looks like it was just for testing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you want to go soon?
Really
I just noticed it's like 2
shit.
a.m.
Yeah.
here, and we started at 12:30, and you said you had 90 minutes. So.
Yeah. Do you have to do your homework?
Yeah, I think I should be going soon now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
because you're like 18.
No, but you know the problem now. Like today, I just said I'm done with Dark Souls 2 with the whole cutscenes thing. I'm not gonna do anything about it. And now you're just giving me an entire thing to work with now.
Yeah, I wanted to like try sort of reconstructing what I think, because if you look at that text, you can kind of figure out what it's referring to. Like it talks about like a dragon egg in like a temple, and that's obviously Dragon Peak.
Dragon Ball Jewel, yeah. Dragon Ball.
Yeah, and then it talks about like there's one where there's like a mine, and in the mine there's a dragon, so that would be Seldra. So like in Seldra they're all mining, and there's the petrified dragon and down the bottom. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of figure, and like it talks about there's like something about Shaded Woods being the way it is because there's like a demon in a tree there. And like there is a fucked up demon face tree in Shaded Woods at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's like one tree that has this weird creepy face on it. So maybe it's that.
Yeah, I actually like spent a lot of time trying to figure out if that had something or not.
Yeah, and there's no references to Aldia at all, but there's this guy called Beldrick who seems to like be a scholar or a sage who knows Vendrick.
Yeah, Berudirik.
Yeah, and I think there's like something where they talk about the Queen of Dranglake has a dragon egg or something like that. But we don't know if like the Queen of Dranglake in this context is Nishandra or just like another queen. She wasn't Nishandra yet.
Yeah, once I get like they're translated properly, we'll be able to get a better picture about it.
Yeah, and it looks like the little dwarf guys, the Gurm. The idea behind them is it looks like when Dranglake was under siege, Vendrick wanted to tunnel underground. And he was using those guys to dig the hole. And I think that's what Shrine of Amana is, because the way that like you go down the bottom of Dranglake Castle and there's just this like hole in the wall with roots growing out of it, and then you walk through it.
Yeah.
I think that's meant to be the hole that they dug, basically. Because it talks about Vendrick wants to dig a hole basically to the middle of Dranglake, like the world. Mm-hmm. Because he thinks that there's a place called Immortal Castle there, where there'll be people who'll teach him how to escape from hollowing. So I'm guessing like that's Shrine of Amana and Undead.
The Undead Crypt, yeah.
Yeah, Undead Crypt might be that castle, like repurposed. It's It looks like it's kind of like the first maybe half of the story, and then it just ends. And I don't know if the rest of it ever existed.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, he only put the Majula files. He didn't put the Forest of the Fallen Giants part. So yeah, there's probably some more information there.
Yeah, there definitely would be, yeah.
Yeah, I'll update you about it. It's really interesting to see. Wow, I'm happy. I thought the network test only had the child that like Shanalot and the other NPC with her, but that's like an entirely new thing, which is great. Yeah, I have all of the files like extracted from the network test, so I just found them laying in a folder with a couple of more files.
Okay, cool.
So,
yeah.
But they like all of them are empty, or like only the Majula and the Forest of the Fallen Giants one are there. So
I feel like this is the most joyful podcast ever, you guys.
Is it because you weren't talking much during it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't there to constantly bully me and put me down.
Yeah.
Now there is someone to protect you here.
Oh my god, I think so. I think Sana is like the human shield. Like, I can't bully Sana. He's a fetus. I would feel horrible.
Oh. Yeah, because Sinclair and I were the same age for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a week where she's not bullying me, and then I become a year older than her overnight, and it becomes acceptable again.
Yeah, it was my birthday gift to Richard.
Your birthday gift to me was that you wouldn't bully me for a week.
Yes. So Sana, you should like come on more often so that Richard doesn't cry himself to sleep after every podcast.
Yeah, well, it's actually been super fun, really.
Yeah.
Like just talking about everything. So yeah, it's been really great, and we learned about new
cut stuff.
So,
yeah,
like,
I wasn't sure if you'd seen it or
exactly.
not. Yeah.
Yay! Yay! Jolly cooperation!
Yeah, I've actually never read these before.
Yeah.
Next time we'll need like to share screens so we can see what you're doing, Sana.
Oh, you don't want to see my screen. Like, my desktop is just full of icons.
Because for this, I'm gonna have to put like random pictures of like puppies and birds or something, because I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Well, there's a cat in my room who's asleep on top of me right now.
Where's Corvo? Oh, Corvo's sleeping over there. Oh, he's so cute. Such a little cutie pie. And my boyfriend's over there playing Assassin's Creed. Oh, you're so cute too, boyfriend. Oh, I love you. I love my boyfriend. Oh my god, he's giving me the look like really. Stop.
Yeah, I think I need to, like...
You have to go now?
Sign off now?
Yeah.
No. You're staying for at least another hour.
I'm staying. Yeah, I'm trapped here forever.
Well, no, thank you so much for doing this, Sana.
Yeah, this was really great, really. Yeah.
I really appreciate it. It was super fun.
Yep, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we're gonna do this again. Maybe we'll discover new stuff.
Yeah, maybe like
Yeah.
after some more Dark Souls 2 work's been done.
Sana, meet Joseph. Joseph, meet Sana.
Hi.
Hi, how are you, dude?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm great.
I think this is the first time you guys talk to each other.
Yeah.
No, we've talked on Twitter, but we haven't talked in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what time is it where you are right now?
It's 5:30 right now. Close to 5:30
Alright, it's
PM, yeah.
Yeah, PM. Yeah, it's like just after midnight for me. So.
Yeah, and we have Sana is free for an hour and a half, so we're gonna have to focus, Richard.
Okay. Yeah. Not the 8 hour thing.
Oh my god, Sana, yesterday we recorded like three? I don't know how many, or 5, I can't remember. It was so long, we had so many topics. And the last topic was the Ringed City. And like, but by the end of it, I was like, by the last 5 minutes, I was getting like annoyed and like irritated. And I'm like, okay, well, this has to end already. Like, I'm done. This has to end. Like, obviously I wasn't acting like it. I was like normal. And then after we finished, I was like, well, like, I didn't know why. I'm like, I'm so annoyed. I'm so irritated. I don't know if it's Richard that's irritating me today. I don't know if it's the Ringed City that's irritating me today. But this is, oh my God, well, I'm never doing this again. This is like too long of a podcast. Do you know why I was so irritated?
that was a lot.
That was a lot.
of irritation.
Richard, you should know, Richard, why I was irritated.
Were you hungry?
Yes, because I only had breakfast, and then we like recorded for like 7 hours, or how was it even 8? I don't even know. And I had literally zero food in that time period. I'm surprised I survived. I'm surprised I didn't kill you. This was the day you should have died, Richard. Okay. Okay, so now that's out of the way.
Well, hopefully you've eaten a lot now, or are you hungry this time?
Well, I'm just having coffee, so Sana, you might die today because I had no food yet.
Okay, let's finish this quick then.
Oh crap. Sana's like, I don't know who these people are. I don't do that content. Bye. Sana, do you know about the duck?
No, what is it?
Good, you don't need to. Next topic.
When she was playing Demon Souls, she found one of the flame salamander lizards in Stonefang. She saw one of those and she didn't quite know what it was. She said, "Is that a duck?" So it's just become a running thing that everything is a duck now.
Every time I say something dumb, my boyfriend sends me a picture of a duck. It's affecting our relationship.
Really? Like, why a duck? Why specifically a duck?
It looked like a little duck. That's what it looked like, okay? It fell from a wall. It was like a little like bathtub duck, and that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Okay, now my boyfriend's giving me a look. Like, that's it. Go play something, boyfriend. Okay. So. Okay. So today we have Sana on our podcast, which is really exciting.
It's just silence.
Yeah.
We're very excited. And he does, well, I'm sure everybody knows that he does behind the scenes stuff and really cool content stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But you know the intro isn't going to be this, it's going to be me talking about self baskets.
Yeah, it will. Yeah.